All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Ilya. I'm here with Robert, Benji, and our guest, Marta.
Hello.
Who are you, and why are you the way that you are?
It's just weirder the second time around. My name is Marta, and I was born this way.
Okay. No, just tell us.
Understandable. That's a good explanation.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself,
Okay.
how old you are,
Your
what do you do?
ministries.
Okay, I'm 23. I lead a few ministries, or not lead, I'm in a few ministries. I'm in choir and in band, and I have a kitchen group.
Cool.
Yeah, y'all
Yeah.
always cooking something good.
Yeah, shout out to the kitchen
Cooking something
staff.
out.
Yeah.
As a previous kitchen leader myself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
The
you
good old-
quit?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I didn't
Best,
even know
best
you were.
decision I ever made.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never knew you were a kitchen leader to
I
begin with. so-
wasn't a very good kitchen leader.
Is that why you quit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whose idea was that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just kind of by default. For the person who left, it just felt to me. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. But before we get into what we're going to talk about, we have a verse of the day.
Yeah, that's 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Be sober, be alert, and cautious at all times. That enemy of yours, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. And then there is a tying in verse 9, but we won't read that. But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on that? On the verse?
I feel like a lot of like the sermons and stuff that I've been hearing recently have been, I don't know why, if it's coincidence or if it's just like a good topic to talk about right now, but like just to be aware of the enemy, not just to like, go day by day, like go with the flow. Like you need to be kind of on the defensive. Like we can't just live life thinking that, I can do whatever I want or I can, just relax, when really someone's trying to tear you down at all times, which is kind of scary, but it becomes less scary when you realize the power of the cross or the power of God working in you.
Yep.
Now, this verse is very interesting because you can break it down to many little sections. First off, it says be sober or sober-minded. Like, what does that mean? What do you guys think that means?
Being alert, because when you are not sober, you can't be alert. I think in this situation, it's talking about being alert. Actually, it says after
Like,
that.
sober-minded,
to be
what
alert.
do you think that means? Like, practically?
Sober-minded specifically is you're in your own conscience, where you can make your own decisions.
Yeah, okay.
basically.
Being self-disciplined.
Yeah.
Exactly, both. And then in the next part, it says be alert and cautious at all times. Keyword at all times means not just like half the time, or not even 99% of the time, all the time. Why? Because, and then the rest of the verse explains why you need to be cautious, because the enemy of yours, the devil, prowls like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. So this verse basically explains that you got to be wise as well, like to know your enemy, right? Because, the way you resist temptation is you got to be wise. So when you know something's about to tempt you, or you know that it has potential to tempt you, why would you face it directly when you could go around it, right? So that, again, that goes back to you being alert and cautious. You're always ready. So an example is like a man that used to smoke cigarettes, and he sees a man smoking, and that scent can trigger something in him, right, for him to be tempted. So he walks around him. Again, he's alert and he's cautious, but yeah, because we understand that devil is our enemy at all times.
Yeah.
He doesn't take breaks. He is there to destroy us all the time.
That's his main goal.
Exactly.
And I mean, another thing, it says like the enemy is yours, the devil prowls around like a roaring lion. And then like, if you read the AMP version, after that it parenthesizes the fiercely hungry. And what I'm saying, fiercely hungry is like what you're saying. He always wants to destroy us, put us down
At all times.
At all times. And it's interesting because we talked about this yesterday, but he doesn't know as much as as God does. The devil won't know everything. He'll never know.
He's not all-knowing.
He's not all-knowing.
He's very smart.
But he's
not
very
all-knowing.
smart because he's been around since
the beginning
day
of
one,
time.
since the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he knows that more than us, but not more than God. So, and God will never put us through something that we can't handle. So what we can do is like what you said, walk around and
Be wise. Be alert.
be wise. Put forth to it, because the devil ain't wise, but we can't be.
I think a big part of that is like knowing what your individual warning signs are, because I feel like we each have something that like trips us up or like is like maybe a reoccurring sin. So if you know what that is, pay attention to what are the little warning signs that happen beforehand that then make you fall into that sin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
'Cause
That's how the devil gets to. He knows your like weak points and he
Yeah.
goes for them. Yeah.
For sure.
Especially
He's
those-
very smart. He's
He
like
aims for that cornerstone. 'Cause as soon as you get that cornerstone, everything else falls.
exactly. He's like a very smart enemy because he doesn't know the future, but he can predict it very accurately. Why? Based on the information that we gave him before. He doesn't forget all that, obviously, which is why he's such a dangerous enemy. And again, that's why we need to be alert and cautious.
Yep, for sure. But yeah, I mean,
Anyways, what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today?
yeah. So there's
Talking
this
about
thing
tea.
called tea and gossip.
Spilling the tea.
Spilling the tea.
He
Fill
said,
my
she
cup.
said.
Or maybe not spilling the tea.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about gossip and I guess a little bit with that, like judgment.
It goes together
Yeah.
as well, yeah.
So, Benji, you want to start us off?
Let's
Yeah,
start off-
to start off,
What is gossip?
what is gossip? We
Yes.
have to define gossip and what is it and what it's not. So, what do you guys think gossip is? Or Marta, what do you think gossip is?
So what I think is like a fact, I guess. Gossip is obviously bad. And it's talking about someone else, other people's situations, and it oftentimes involves like little changes in the story or like
Added
added
context.
on. Yeah, context. And it's often degrading other people, putting people down.
Yeah, so it's just something negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to like the intention of the person who's gossiping.
Mm-hmm.
So like if their intention is to just bring someone down, or even if they're not purposely trying to bring someone down, but they're just, I just love talking about, things that don't pertain to me at all, and
Yeah.
like over exaggerating, adding little
Because
things,
it's not about you.
You like
the
attention.
You won't care until, yeah.
and not just talking about it with maybe like one person, but like multiple people, I guess, spreading like wildfire.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that we define that, let's talk about what gossip isn't. What do you guys think?
Gossip isn't? Well, they're
Like situations, what are like some examples of
where you're
it might
allowed
seem like
to.
it's gossip, but it's really not.
Okay, so like where you're allowed to. Well, I personally could say this is if, let's say, a couple is getting married and their wedding's like in 2 months. We love to talk about relationships here, so I'm going to use that as an example. But the husband has a past in his life and the wife doesn't know about it.
Not the husband yet, the guy who wants to propose.
Or propose in general. I'm saying this.
It could
just
go
an
either
example.
way.
It can
It
go
could
either
go for
way.
girl
That's
or
true.
guy,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the male has a bunch of issues in his life that he still hasn't fixed. And for instance, his brother might know all about that, but the wife doesn't know anything about that, or the fiance doesn't know anything about that yet. And the brother tells the wife, hey, I know this and this about him. Do what you choose is best with this. I'm just passing you on the information. In that case, you're not really gossiping. You're just telling the truth. You're just saying.
I feel like you're preventing a disaster that's waiting to happen.
Exactly.
Eventually. So
Exactly.
you're helping that
Yeah,
brother
you're
or
solving
sister
the
out.
situation,
Exactly.
kind of.
And again, I think it goes back to your intentions as well. It's not just you don't have evil intentions behind it. You want the best for that person, even if it may seem like it's bad in the moment, like if they do eventually break up. But the intentions were so at least if they break up, at least do it now before they divorce in the
Of
future.
course.
You know.
Another example, I don't know, I feel like if I have someone that I really, really trust, and if I'm just telling them about something that happened, I guess, at my workplace or like at church, like, I don't know, like if, I can't think of a specific example, but if I'm just like telling that
Like
one
events.
person, events or like something that happened, like, I feel like that's not gossip. I feel like where it can cross into the line of gossip is if like we start focusing on it for like long enough time.
I feel like if someone
If
like
you become
falls
obsessed.
Yes.
or like stumbles or makes a mistake and you're like kind of pointing that out and kind of
Yeah.
spreading that, you know.
Or also, I feel like the topic of gossip can also even like kind of become tangent with like self-righteousness. So, oh, I'm talking bad about how bad this person is, or like spreading this rumor to make myself seem great,
Look
or
better.
to make myself.
That's a
righteous.
big like point of like why people do it.
Mhm.
Some people just like to bring other people down to make themselves look higher.
Jealous.
But like and it
Selfishness.
gives you satisfaction for like that moment, but like in the long run, you're just degrading people and it doesn't make you any better.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Especially if the Bible clearly says like gossiping, being a gossiper is not something to look up to. That's
Exactly.
Not at all.
And there's an interesting verse I literally just read. It's 2 Corinthians 12:20 is, "For I am afraid that when I come, I may not find you as I want you to be, and you may not find me as you want me to be. I fear that there may be discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, slander, gossip, arrogance, and disorder." What this makes me kind of think is like, when there is all this jealousy and people are talking about each other, like, just imagine you're trying to put yourself above everyone. You're trying to climb this ladder and you're like, oh, you are no one. I'm going to gossip about you. You are lower than me. And how could it be when you get to Jesus, when he comes, you know? It's like, would you do the same thing to him? Or would Jesus do that to you, you know?
Kind of like the golden rule, like
Yeah.
do to others as you would want them to to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and same goes with gossiping. Like, would
Yeah.
you want someone to say
Yeah.
that kind of stuff about you? You know, like you wouldn't want to hear things about yourself, like going around, especially when they're like not true and like added on things.
Yeah, exactly.
When it's pertaining to you, it's easy to be like, oh, that person's so messed up for that. But then sometimes I guess we don't catch ourselves doing the same thing.
Yeah. I was gonna add to what Robert said about the Corinthians. I was gonna use that as an example of what gossip isn't. How did Paul find out what's happening in that church? They told him that wasn't gossip, that was truth. There's like a fine line. Even if the gossip is true and you're spreading it, you're still not right, because you're making that person look better. You're like pointing out that flaw or mistake or where they fell, you know.
Yeah.
A way that like that situation could have gone completely different is if you notice a fellow believer did something wrong or like is struggling, and you come up to them personally and be like, hey, I noticed this. If you need help, I'm here for you.
Yeah,
or I can pray for you. Or if you need someone to talk to, you know, like that is you showing your support for someone and you giving help instead of just tearing them down and spreading stories to random people for what? For nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like an interesting thing, you brought up Paul's story, and I just remembered, like, if you read Acts chapter 9, it talks about how Paul was, he used to kill Christians, and then he became a Christian himself, and now he is saving Christians, or more like teaching them and turning them into Christians. And what that makes me think is like, when people could look at him and be like, oh, he used to be like this, he used to do all these things, like he used to be a killer, he used to kill us, or used to kill us people, and they just keep that in head, they drill it in, they're like, they look at their past and never their present, you know? That's a lot of situations in gossiping. Like, so before you gossip, you can think like, what is he now? Is that in the present, or is that in the past, and has he changed, or she changed? That type of deal.
People only hate gossip when it's about them.
Exactly.
Which is true. I catch myself, like everything we're saying here, first and foremost applies to myself. I need to catch myself too. I understand that, you know, I'm not perfect, obviously, and there are times where I gossip as well.
That's the thing with gossip.
It's
like
you don't even notice.
Yeah.
You gotta again, be alert.
Yeah.
You see, that's also a sin. So like, be sober-minded, be alert and cautious. You know, what are your intentions of spreading, or even talking about whatever you're talking about, you know?
Yeah. And then, like I was saying about the looking at someone's past, you know, I'm pretty sure I brought it up on the podcast before, but there's this image of a biker, this huge dude covered in tattoos, wearing a leather jacket, sitting on the front row of church. And then behind him are a bunch of people who are well-dressed, and they're like gossiping about him. They're like, oh,
that kind of goes with like
this guy
judgment.
he's like, oh, he's not a Christian. He has a past of that and this. But in all reality, if like above them, it shows a bubble of saying, the biker is saying, Jesus, take the wheel, you know, like you are the
and
creator.
what doesn't make the people behind him look like, it makes them look like worse,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta look on the inside instead of the out, you know, because people will have a past and they might look different, but
We all have a past.
Honestly, that's
Exactly.
why I feel like gossip, and when you're a gossiper or you're even talking about gossip, you're so hypocritical because, again, back to what we were talking about, we praise ourselves or we think so highly of ourselves, like, oh, this person fell. Have you heard what he did? Have you heard what she did? Oh my goodness, how is that even possible? So again, subconsciously, you're already assuming that you're better than that person because you didn't do that. In God's eyes, you're the same. You're a sinner, and you deserve to be in hell. You know, even one single lie, you deserve to burn eternally in hell. But, we're saved by God's grace. But still, it's hypocritical when you're spreading that gossip, assuming that, oh, I didn't do this, so I'm allowed to spread this. So I'm not as bad as him. That's hypocritical because in God's eyes, you're the same, if not even worse. And again, going back to people's past, it's like, okay, but where were you? In God's eyes, you were the same. You were a sinner as well.
Yep. Exactly.
I think something that, like a verse that really ties in with what you're saying is Matthew chapter 7, starting in verse 35. Actually, it's chapter 7, verse 1, and says, "Do not judge and criticize and condemn so that you will not be judged. For just as you judge others, so will you be judged. And in accordance with your standard of measure, judgment will be measured to you." So if you're willing to judge and condemn someone else, that's the exact same treatment that you're going to get in return. Who is the person we're supposed to look up to? Christ. What did he do? He loved selflessly and he gave mercy. He died for us. And that kind of love is the example that we should live by. And, back when we were still sinners, he still died for us. So if he was able to do that for us, the least we can do is just show that kindness and courtesy to others, whether we're talking to them face to face or how we're talking about them behind their back.
Yeah. And I was interested, Ben. I'm sure you had some questions lined up, but I wanted to see what you had to say. If you are the one to be who was gossiped about, someone who was gossiping about you, how should you react in that instance, like as a Christian?
How would I react if
Yeah,
someone's
how would-
gossiping about me?
Yeah.
Personally, I just wouldn't care. That's me.
Yeah.
Because I have other things to care about.
Yeah, exactly.
That's me. But what I'd recommend is just give it to God. If you have a personal relationship with Jesus, talk to him about it.
Amen.
Rant to him about it. That he's your best friend.
Exactly.
Whenever I'm going through something, whenever people do say something or whatever, potentially in the future, if they are going to say something, go to God, go to Jesus. Be like, hey, Jesus, these people are saying things. Pray for them. It says pray for your enemies.
Yeah.
Love your enemies. Pray for them. Maybe for you to be an example. And what are they gossiping about too? There's so many little things about it. I don't know. Me personally, I just don't care.
Exactly.
What would you do?
Yeah, what would you
Yeah,
do?
I was just thinking about that. Like, I feel like the more you live, the more you learn, and like you kind of have to not necessarily not care. It's like really hurting if somebody like gossips or like says extra things about you, but you, like what he was saying, you kind of just leave it to God and like don't flip it on the other person. Do you know what I mean?
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Check yourself.
obviously in that
Yeah.
moment it hurts, so it's
Yeah.
really easy to play into emotion and maybe like lash out or confront. I mean,
Let God defend you. He'll
Yeah.
defend you better than you can ever.
Yeah.
Check
And you
yourself,
kind of like,
basically.
why would you flip it on someone else like when they're probably not feeling the best about themselves either,
Yeah.
you know?
you're
'Cause
just adding
that's-
fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you read John chapter 15, verse 18 and verse 19. If the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you. If you belong to the world would love you. It would love its own and would treat you with affection. But you are not of the world. I have chosen you out of the world, and because of this, the world hates you. So like, one thing I like to remember all the time is if someone hates you, if someone says something about you, just remember, like, let them say that about me. I don't care, because I'm God's child. They're talking about God's child, and that can go back on them. That means they're living a worldly life. They're treating us like it's their enemy, you know, because it's kind of like this two-sided thing. The worldly people who are of this world, who are like living the worldly life, and then there's people who are living the holy life, or trying to live the holy life as best as they can. And like he states here that we are his children. Yeah, if we're his children, and when they talk about us, we just need to remember that we're his children, and like they basically can't match up, is what I'm trying to say, you know.
And if you're struggling with that, like you can also just ask, like, hey, God, please help me get through this. Like, help me not pay attention to this.
Exactly. Go
Get
to
through the
Jesus.
situation. Because rumors, like, they sting at first, but I feel like they pass.
It's
Someone's
that
going to talk about
initial-
something
It
next.
all
Honestly, like it's
Yeah.
that initial like, oh wow, how can they say that or think of that about me? And then it's just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, an interesting
Move
thought is we never truly pray for a person we gossip about, and we never gossip about a person we truly pray about.
Whoa.
Think about that. If we're gossiping about a person, we're not truly praying for them, right? You know, like
Yep.
even when we try to cover it up by saying, yeah, but we got to pray for this person. Classic, you know. I'm not one to gossip, but
This is what happened, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
yeah, but have you heard? Classic. But yeah, we got to pray for them. But are you truly praying for them if you're gossiping, right?
Yeah.
And if you are truly praying for them, you're not gossiping about them then, because you don't, like, you understand that, hey, they stumbled, they fell, and if I put myself in their position, I wouldn't want people really knowing that because it's embarrassing, or, you know, you just don't want people knowing about that because, again, judgment, people judge.
Who are we to judge?
And
We are no
again,
one to
going
judge.
back to judgment too, like,
James chapter 4, verse 12. There's only one lawgiver, the judge, and one who is able to save and to destroy. But who are you to pass judgment on your neighbor? And obviously here it's abbreviated. The one God who was absolute power of life and death. So only God can judge. We
Yeah.
are no one to judge.
going to judgment, right? I catch myself too personally, like, I can judge people based on what other people already said about them, but without even knowing a person, right? And it's not a good thing, obviously.
Kind of like judging a book by its cover.
Yeah, you don't know that person, but based on gossip or based on rumors or based on what people already say,
You could come to a conclusion.
you,
Like,
you come to a
Yeah.
conclusion, right? So catch yourself, be alert, be cautious. Again,
one thing
back
for
to
me
that verse.
is like, I guess I don't really struggle with gossiping, but if it's happening and I'm around it, then it's kind of fun to listen.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
know what you
problem.
mean.
That's-
It's always like, oh, there's tea, fill my cup. You know,
Exactly.
type of vibe.
So it doesn't, you know, being alert doesn't just mean you yourself stopping yourself from gossiping, but also if you're in a situation where that's happening, find a way to redirect the conversation.
yeah.
Find a way to be like, hey guys, like, let's just move on, or
Yeah.
like, let's not talk about this. Which is
Yeah.
hard, easier said than done, but
It really is.
It's because of the curiosity. We're naturally curious
Yeah,
of
of
what's
course.
going on.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, that's like the whole, overall with the whole topic, it's kind of like hard to say like, don't do it because like,
because we're curious.
yeah, everyone does it. That's the thing
Yeah.
with gossiping. You'll never say you're a gossiper, but everybody is, you know?
That's so
At some
true.
point, like everyone says something or like
Exactly.
I didn't even
starts
think about it
something
like
or-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and then
crazy.
and it's funny because like sometimes we can say like, oh, those people are judging. Oh, they're such bad people. Oh.
See, and that-
But then
it's
but then
hypocritical.
We're judging as we're saying that.
Yeah,
Like
as we're saying.
literally.
Hey, I'm not
like,
one
it's
to
cool-
judge, but
it's
have you seen what they?
Yeah, yeah.
Classic.
It's interesting that you're saying that because while you're saying that, I was reading my notes and I was reading the verse, and while you're saying that, it kind of like ties in. It's Romans 2, chapter 2, verse 1 is, therefore you have no excuse, every one of you who passes judgment, for in that which you judge another, you condemn yourself, for you who judge practice the same things. So you're basically, it literally says like you do the same thing. You're hypocritical,
Yep.
and which is wrong. And I believe if you keep on reading, and we know that the judgment of God rightly falls upon those who practice such things. But yeah, it's basically like
Back to what you were saying, Marta, I was like, I feel like when we're part of the church for a long time, like we were born into Christian families or like we've been believers for a while, like some of the things that the Bible says clearly is like you're a sinner, like adulterers, like drunkards, like these like really serious ones is like, you know, I mean, people struggle with many different things, but I feel like we're like, oh, I'm definitely not that.
Yeah.
We forget about the
But
little
you
ones.
follow, yeah, but each sin is the same. They all
Exactly.
equal out. Nothing's bigger than the other one, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
So gossiping is so easy, casting judgment on someone, even with a thought, like even, you know, if you didn't even say it out loud, like could easily fall into that.
Yeah,
so
you
that's
can
something.
definitely, like, you won't gossip, I guess, with, like, in your mind, but you'll definitely be judging someone through your
Yep.
mind, you know?
Yep.
Yep.
So something to pay attention to and, you know, if to work on.
Stay alert. up.
Another thought is that who tends to be a gossiper, right? Lazy people. People who have nothing
Oh.
to do.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
didn't expect that.
it's true. If you think about it, look, who tends to be a gossiper? People who usually don't work, don't do anything, because they have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
If a person works and is always busy with something, he simply doesn't have the time for gossip, nor does he care, because he's distracted with something else.
Like if you're serving God, if
If
your
you're serving
intentions
God,
are
you
good,
simply don't have the time to care or just
participate.
Exactly. So, again, that's why you find a ministry, something to do. It literally keeps you away from so many sins because you just simply don't have the time to do it.
That's a good point.
No.
Yeah. Also, another thing is, where is it in my notes? Gossiping has a risk for you as well. Like, say for example, somebody comes to you with some tea, and you have a decision: do I spread it or do I just let it die here with me? You know, when you let it die with you, there's no risk; it dies here. But when you choose to spread it, there's so many risks, like, I don't know, hurting someone, potentially ruining a relationship based on gossip, rumors, or whatever. Losing trust from loved ones, friends, you know, so many little things that you're risking. So again, if you want to spread stuff, think about it, think deeply in it.
It can backstab
Exactly.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you just said, Proverbs 17:9, whoever would foster love covers over an offense, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. So what you were just saying is you could just stop it right there, and you guys would, you know, cover it with love,
Save some friendships.
save some friendships, or you can repeat the matter and separate close friends, you know. So it all comes to you.
I
You
think
make
that
that
plays
decision.
a big factor of, like, youth and stuff like that. If
Yeah.
like you break groups apart and stuff like that, people start like
Looking
hating
at
on each other and stuff like that. It causes more problems.
It splits the church also, because think about what it does to the church.
I'm
That's
sure
what
some
Alex
people
was
may have.
texting me.
I'm sure some people may have like left or maybe not wanted to go to church because of rumors, because of gossip.
Yeah, because some people don't handle it well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we should learn to handle these types of things better. And I feel like everyone does after a while. You know, you have to like grow through it.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
some people might not take it like, they'll take it too personally, and they'll be like, oh, I don't want to go to church anymore because these people are saying these things about me and spreading it instead of like praying for me and
Yep.
like helping me, you know?
And it's easy to kind of, again, cast judgment on that person, be like, oh, why are they so sensitive? Like, we all have to go through that. But the problem is, like, yes, maybe they're a little sensitive, but the problem comes from the church being, or the members of the church not being examples, not being a light in the darkness. If you're going to be, if that's what they're going to associate with, you know, the church, whatever church it may be, of course it's going to be difficult to be in that kind of environment. And so I feel like, yes, it could be easy to just be like, oh, they need to deal with it, we all deal with it. No, what can we do to better ourselves as like a community?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the tongue is super powerful. Like,
Mm-hmm.
look in any situations. I believe it was James chapter 2 or 3. It might even be in the Peters. But we were reading about it, like your tongue is like the rudder of a boat. It's little, but it controls everything. You know, it plays such a big part. Proverbs 18:21, the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. You know, like one who loves like gossip and stuff, he will use it incorrectly, and sometimes they don't even realize they're doing it wrong, and they're just gonna keep doing it because, like, I don't know if you ever realized this, like if your first ever tea session, you know, with someone, like you drop, it kind of felt like empowering, kind of,
Yeah.
like, wow, you just told each other a
That's
bunch
why
of things.
That's why we like it. Like,
Yeah,
let's keep it
like you
real,
told it, and you find out these
feel
new
good
things.
about it, but
Yeah,
It's fun.
It's
really
fun.
fun.
in the
it's like,
moment.
yo, what's going on? You know?
Everything on earth is fun, but it won't be fun later.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. You
There's
know.
an interesting thought somebody brought up when I was doing research for this topic. It was Lucifer and how he convinced the angels to turn against God, right? This is just a thought. It's not written. I understand that, so please don't, I don't know, crucify me for saying this.
Hashtag cancel that.
But, please don't. But gossip, right? So how did he make these angels turn against God? He probably came up to these angels and were like, hey, heard about God? He's doing this or that. That
Or
could
like,
be an
we
idea.
could be better.
We could be better.
Yeah.
That's gossip, right?
Or
That's
more
and
powerful.
it spreads. So think about it. If in the spiritual world it has that big of an impact, just imagine how big of an impact it can potentially have on the church.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we're not perfect, right? And we're relatively weak.
Yeah. Like you were saying, is like he was probably telling them, like, we can be so much better. We can still be so much more powerful. That's what, like we said earlier, that's what gossip does. Basically,
Yeah.
you're dropping everyone below you,
Yeah.
and it's like the same thing with the tongue. You know, you drop everyone below you just by talking, but obviously Satan went to do more, and they fallen angels and everything, and now they aren't as powerful. But
100%.
yeah.
So I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
It's a
Very
very
good
fast
thoughts.
episode.
It's level.
Yeah. Thank you,
That
Marta,
was good.
for
Yeah.
Thank you.
being
Thanks for
here with
having me.
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never come back, please.
Yes, please. Just kidding.
I can't wait to talk about her when she leaves.
Oh, you guys are gonna gossip.
Yeah.
So what's the
Leave?
tea, sis?
He's gonna leave. We're gonna pull out like the teacups and everything.
Right.
Start spilling.
This is
it.
what happens after the
I think we
cameras
should do
go
that.
off.
Eventually, just put up a table here with some tea, you know. So like, what's the tea?
Yeah. Let's do
Good
it.
idea.
But we keep it in our cups. We don't spill it.
Hey, we don't judge. Not in front of you, only behind you.
Exactly. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, whatever you need to do. And always remember to be a light in the darkness.
See you next time.